Shifting focus now to the conflict in West Asia, US President Joe Biden's Israel policy has backfired. Today, Israel is more isolated globally than it ever was. Countries that traditionally supported it have started questioning it. Israel's closest ally, the United States of America, is also very concerned. Listen in to what the White House security advisor, Jake Sullivan, said today at a press briefing.
I think it's a fair question. As a country that stands strong in defense of Israel in international forums like the United Nations, we certainly have seen a growing chorus of voices, including voices that had previously been in support of Israel, drift in another direction. That is of concern to us because we do not believe that that contributes to Israel's long-term security or vitality.
We are concerned. That's the line coming out of the White House. One after another, the pillars that propped up Washington's support for Israel are crumbling down. Will the confused policy of the Biden administration cost the president dearly come the elections in November? I ask that because of three reasons. Reason number one, America's allies in Europe are growing increasingly frustrated with Israel's war in Gaza. As we told you yesterday, 3 European countries have moved to officially recognize Palestinian statehood. Ireland, Spain, and Norway have announced that they will formally recognize the Palestinian state from next week. Of course, their decision was met with fury in Israel, but their move shows just how frustrated the world has grown with the prolonged war in Gaza. Announcing their decision, all the 3 European leaders, by the way, stressed that recognizing Palestinian statehood would pave the way for a two-state solution in the region. In the two-state solution, the Palestinians who currently reside in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank would get a recognized state alongside Israel. This solution would also theoretically benefit Israel as it would lead to a more secure state. It's a decades-long goal that the international community has long pushed for, but has failed to achieve. Even the US, by the way, insists that the only way to bring lasting peace is through the creation of a Palestinian state, with guarantees for Israel's security. So what stopped the two-state solution, you ask? A number of obstacles, but chief among them is Israel's rejection of it. Not just that, ceasefire talks to end the current conflict have also hit a stalemate. What's more, Israel has defied all of Washington's warnings against the Rafah invasion. It has expanded its operations in the southern city of Gaza with the aim of dismantling Hamas, but has inadvertently made the humanitarian crisis worse. And all these actions by Israel complicate matters for the US as it tries to find a way to end the war. Which brings me to reason number 2 of why Biden's bet on Bibi has boomeranged. The International Criminal Court's top prosecutor has requested arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister. The aim is to hold him and his defense chief, along with 3 Hamas leaders, accountable for alleged war crimes in Gaza. While the White House has opposed ICC prosecutors' move, more and more allies of the US have expressed support for the World Court. European countries, including France and Germany, issued statements affirming their support for the legitimacy of the ICC. Now, to be clear, the arrest warrant could take months to be issued. The US is not obligated to arrest Netanyahu if that happens or take any action. Why is that, you ask? Well, that's because the US is not a party to the ICC. US officials maintain that the ICC has no jurisdiction over Israel and that the case is unfair. Still, frustration around Israel is palpable. Tensions around the ICC prosecutor's decision could spell trouble for Biden and his Israel policy. For starters, the case could complicate efforts to bring the war to an end. Remember, negotiators have been trying for months to secure a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. But it's not just that. The Biden administration also risks appearing hypocritical if it completely disregards the ICC's moves. In the past, Washington has weighed in on ICC cases. In fact, in 2023, ICC issued an arrest warrant against the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, for the war in Ukraine. At the time, Biden vehemently supported the ICC. So if Biden were to completely shun the ICC's decision against Netanyahu now, world leaders will question the Biden administration's hypocrisy. And despite the pressure, it does not look like the Biden administration will actually stop pushing back against the ICC's move. Earlier this month, the US State Department said that it did not find that Israel had violated international humanitarian law. Washington is going to continue with that narrative. Which then brings me to the third and last reason for why Biden's Israel policy has backfired. If the sentiment abroad is that of frustration, the Biden administration is increasingly facing flack at home for a failing Israel and doing little to help the Gazans. And that is a tough spot to be caught in. On Tuesday, by the way, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken faced immense criticism from the right and left over Israel policy in the US Congress. While the Republicans accused the Biden administration of failing Israel, Democrats said it's doing too little to help the civilians in Gaza. Furious protesters interrupted Blinken as he began his testimony before two committees in the Senate. Some even called him a war criminal, accusing him of involvement in genocide, quote unquote. Blinken reiterated the support of Biden's administration for Israel, but insisted it was focused on easing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. He said that the administration opposed an Israeli assault on Rafah. And we all remember the massive protests that broke out across university campuses in the US early this month. These are voices of dissent against the Biden administration's Israel policy. More importantly, what we are coming back to time and again is the human cost of the Gaza war. Over 35,000 Palestinians have been killed over the last several months in a horrific war that has had full American backing. Countless more are buried under the rubble, displaced, injured, and scarred for life. Still, the Biden administration has failed to demonstrably break from Netanyahu and use American leverage to actually bring an end to the war. Will the Biden administration reevaluate its policy before it's too late? We will have to wait and watch. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.